Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Vibing with Sleezy, the podcast. This is season 2, episode 11. And we are doing this episode via Zoom, like I've done some episodes here in the past, recently here on season 2. It's been awesome being able to connect with people in other places, other states, other cities. And Zoom's been a big thing for me. The audio's been great. Been able to upload the files right away. So shout out to Zoom and for making this easy when someone's not here in Louisville. But my special guest today is a professional surfer. He has been in my fantasy football league, League of Legends, here for the past few years, and we've gotten close through that. So my special guest is none other than Keanu Asing. How you doing?
Right on, Sleazy. Thank you for having me on here, man. I'm so excited.
Yes, it's an honor, man.
Jamar Chase saved me this year.
Huh?
Jamar Chase saved me this year.
Oh, yes, dude. Shout out to the Bengals, Jamar Chase.
You know it.
Yeah, he did big things for you and did big things for my team. A rookie of the year for sure, and broke tons of records and just blew my mind. You know, had such a shitty preseason with drops and fumbles and just I was like,
he dropped so many balls that Dino dropped him in our league. So
I know it's insane, and I think Dino definitely was kicking himself on that one. But I just couldn't believe. I'll be honest, I was kind of nervous about the guy, and I was like, I'm going to keep my faith. Hopefully that Joe Burrow connection, and then dude, he started just heating up and had this huge season. I went to the 49ers Bengals game there towards the end of the regular season. He had a huge game there, scored a huge touchdown. Like literally, Burrow just slings one, and Chase was just sitting in the end zone. It was awesome. I mean, even though they lost, it was still cool to see that connection.
Yeah, I was a Bengals fan this year, except when the Raiders lost. I wasn't too much of a fan then.
I know, dude. I know. I'm sorry we had to do that to you, man. We were
then you guys came back and beat the Chiefs, so I was very, very happy about that.
Yeah, definitely for your division. But yeah, it just awesome, man. It was such a fun ride, and for having such a shitty past seasons with the Bengals, to have it turn around and do so well this year, it's just been huge. Yeah. And see Joe Burrow pay off, and the coach, and just special teams. It's just everything across the board's been exciting. So the football season's been a lot of fun this year.
You know what? Yeah, and it's been so cool because that's how we got to know each other, right? Just through the League of Legends, like fantasy football. So it's like, for us is to connect on this same page like that, and kind of get to know you a lot better. It's just such a cool ride,
Yeah, dude. I feel the same way about you, man, and I feel the same way about all the other legends. I mean, everybody in that league is very passionate about pretty much every aspect of life, and the conversations are always good. There's always funny stuff, and and the competition for fantasy is always really good. And I like how everybody kind of holds each other accountable, and we have fun, and we discuss the most random stuff. So it's been great, and shout out to Plug for keeping it really organized and overall just a fun
professional.
Yes, professional. I will have to say that. I mean, any disputes, it gets all cleared up, and everybody plays fair, and everybody, like I said, is just so wanting to win that trophy, winning that championship. So it's like everyone gives their all, and so it's been really exciting. And when people don't, they get a lot of shit for it. Yeah,
that's exactly right. It's so fun. Every morning I open up the chat, and it's like my cup of coffee. I'm just like, okay, what do we have in store for today?
Exactly.
What is Anthony firing away this morning?
Oh yeah, dude. I love hearing from Tone, dude. Tone keeps it real, and he's always fun to talk to, and then Dino always has good hot takes, and so it's always fun. And then Nicky Lou, he always is hilarious in there. So everybody brings something great to that chat for sure.
It's so fun. It's so fun.
Yeah, so shout out to Miz and Scott Berg. Shout out to all the Guidas. Shout out to Teo. Shout out to Phil. So, we have to definitely shout out to all the legends. So what up, legends, for sure.
Absolutely.
So where are you at, man? Are you in Hawaii or California, or where do you stay?
So we currently just got back to California. So I'm born and raised on the island of Oahu in Hawaii. But we currently reside in Southern California in a little town called San Clemente. So, really close to actually like some of the guys that like Christian and Anthony. So, surfing really brought me down here just because when I was younger, the travel was pretty easy for me to kind of fly in and out of LAX or we'd definitely travel internationally. So for me, it was kind of to base myself here was kind of easier to travel. Flying to Hawaii, we would always have to go in and out of LAX anyway. So I kind of just figured out how to just maneuver around here. And now my wife, she moved in with me when about 10 years ago, and she was training a lot for fighting, and she signed a contract with the UFC, and she was fighting for the organization for a while. So being here in California kind of provided a lot of opportunities for us, and I think we built a lot of good people around us, like good family, friends, and stuff like that. So yeah, now we currently reside over here.
That's huge, man. That's awesome to hear, and that's really cool. You're born and raised in Hawaii. My buddy Jeremy lives in San Diego. He was on an episode here recently, a couple episodes ago, and we discussed Hawaii and how he did some traveling down there. So it's always a cool state. I always shout out to the Rainbow Warriors. That's my backup squad to the Kentucky Wildcats, I always say. So I always like Hawaii's sports, and I like Kona beer. That's like my favorite beer. So
that's the one. That's the one you had to put away last night. That Kona.
Yeah, the big wave.
Big wave, baby.
Dude, I had such a good time last night, and not to get sidetracked because I definitely want to dig into California and all that, but what was funny about last night, so my girlfriend, she hits me up and she's like, hey, I want to go to this comedy show. It's free. It's at this brewery, and there's like a new brewery in downtown Louisville. So I was like, yeah, let's go check it out. So we get dressed, we go down there, and we roll up, and I'm feeling good. I definitely pregame before, and so it's a free show, and I saw a couple of comedians that were like opening, like the amateur ones, and I actually knew them, and I was like, okay, I know a couple of these guys. So we go get a table, we get a beer, they had pizza, like everything was awesome there. So dude, the first couple of openers are great, like they're hilarious and all this stuff. Well, they hired this like main comedian, and he had like I guess had been on like MTV before and other places, and I'm going to even blank on what his name was, but dude, he gets up on stage, man, and just completely bombs. And dude, I did not, bro, it was so awkward because we were in the front row, and dude, we just didn't know what to do, man. He just kept looking at his watch, and he's like grabbing the mic stand. And at one point, he just completely paused for like 8 seconds. And my girl's looking at me, and she's like, is this for real? Like, she's like, what's going on? And I was like, and I looked at her, I was like, this is a free comedy show, I guess. So, but dude, I had drank so many Konas. I smoked, I was feeling good. And I'm sitting there and dude, I felt so bad for this guy. And he just was just tanking. And like, I felt good for the amateurs though, because they looked like they were just amazing. So it just was like such a flip flop, dude. I just had I had never been at a comedy show. Like I love stand up where someone's actually tanked like that. It was awkward.
That just goes to show it happens to the best of us. Like, not everybody can just show up on the dime like that, and I think they get put under this microscope, and it's it could be an amateur kind of comedian or just an amateur athlete or a professional athlete, and like all of us, we have this perspective of like, okay, these guys are gonna show up and they do this, we kind of get to the point where we put these guys on this pedestal, and it's like, okay, like they better deliver, and that's why fan bases is a part of all sports, or as kind of spectators, we're always like have so much to say, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Especially
we can throw 400 yards every game, or we can win this contest, or how come they didn't win every time. So it goes to show like stuff like that happens is so natural for us, but we always kind of put it in a context of just like, oh, like they should have showed up. They should have done this,
Yeah, I'll admit
So,
I'm guilty of that, but it was just so shocking because it was such as a flip flop, and like I just had no expectations last night, and then I'm just feeling horrible for this guy. I'm just like I want to go up and save him, but I just don't know how. Like I felt so bad. So
I was hoping you were gonna tell me that you had enough beers that you just went up there and saved him.
dude, I'll be honest. That's like I have tried so many different creative outlets, like doing music, poetry, the podcast, like so many different things. I've always wanted to do stand up. I definitely want to try to give it a shot one day. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Like there's some open mics in town, which I've always wanted to give it a shot. So it might be something I do down the road. But yeah, dude, those Kona beers, man, they were flowing. So I was having a good night, man. I was off work and I was looking forward to it. So it was a good time. So you're living in Cali. So real quick before I dig into kind of like your career and family, everything, like how did you meet the Guidas?
So funny story is I moved here when I was around 18 years old, and I lived here, and I was kind of bouncing around and looking for places to stay. I stayed at my friend's couch for a while, and then I got in this little studio I rented for a little while, and they moved out of the house. I had to look for another place. So, and meanwhile, I'm traveling, so I'm like hopping in and out of like houses and trying to look for places, as well as like booking flights and grabbing boards, traveling here, competing here. So my life was pretty scattered all over the place when I was 16, 17, 18, those years. And then I finally locked down into this place in San Clemente. Then a few months later, my girlfriend at the time, Kylan, she's not my wife.
Yeah.
She moved in with me, and then she had her whole thing with the UFC and training and stuff. And Christian's wife, now wife, but back then it was girlfriend. They were going to school in Biola, which was, I think, maybe 45 minutes or an hour away from San Clemente. And Christian's parents live, they text us like, oh, how far away? Like, do you guys live from San Juan Capistrano? And I was like, really? Like, we live like 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no way. We're like over here. Like, let's link up. So, Christian is my good friend, but my wife and his wife are actually cousins. Their moms are sisters. So it's kind of a funny story. Yeah, like how, we got connected, and to this day we've been very close friends, and we had dinner with them the other night over here, and it's funny because we spend so much time with them, not only because Kylie, my wife, and his wife are cousins, but it's because we're just close friends, which makes it twice as better. So yeah, that was a kind of funny story. That's how I met Christian. And they came to Hawaii one time, and he brought his brother Nick, and he was like, it's funny because I was like, oh, what's up, Nick? He's a rapper. And I was like, oh yeah, let me hear something. And he's like, what? And he's like, yo, you can't just like go up to somebody and just like, yo, let me hear something. Like, I hear you're a pro surfer. Like, what? Let me see something. I'm like, oh yeah, sorry. I was like, oh yeah, sorry. Like, it was so funny. So that's the first time I met Nick, and since the first time I met them, we kind of hit it off like super, super close friends. And then find out, they have another brother, Anthony. I was like, geez, you guys have brothers all over the place.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm meeting a new brother every week with these guys. So it was cool. I got to meet them, and they've been such close family friends, and they've been such a huge support in me and my wife, living in California, and that's been our pretty much family over here. So just knowing them has been such a blessing.
That's super dope, man. And like, yeah, they're such a great family. Like their parents are great. Guidas just in general are fantastic. Nick was my first college roommate in college, so that's how we met. I ended up meeting Tone and Plug, Christian and Anthony. I ended up meeting them when Nick moved down that like opening weekend, and we all like hit it off. And pretty much me and Nick stayed close all through college. Like we partied, stayed with the same friend group. We ended up meeting Dino. I ended up like recording Dino and his sister like in the studio. So like that was kind of how me and Dino got like really close. And what was cool was like Dino's dad and like Dino, so he has so many connects like in Detroit and just music in general. So like Dino had like I recorded this track with Dino and his sister. Well, he ended up giving it to like Kid Rock's producers, and it turned out to be like really dope. So like I ended up getting close with Dino. Like we played Madden and we all kick it over at Nick's house, and we played 2K and we go to Koi and we smoke a lot of weed. Like we just had a great time. And so we all just stayed close. And like, so what was dope was Dino moved back to Detroit, but me and Nick stayed in touch with him. So we have these things called Europe Fest because like Europe was our word in college. Like when we go to a party, if we wanted to find our friends, like if I wanted to find Nick or Dino, like, hey, skipping it, and like everyone, you would know that's the crew. So we'd have.
So you guys are the reason why I use Yurt.
Oh yes, for sure, dude. Europe was a movement in Nashville, and so we ended up doing the Europe thing. We had Europe Fest in Detroit. We'd always have like these fun parties, and like every year we were doing that. So it was just cool how we stayed in touch and then reconnected like at weddings or like when we traveled to see each other. And then I ended up meeting all of you all just through the fantasy football and staying consistent in that each year. So there's still legends I need to meet, but it's been cool because I still feel like even though we haven't all met, we're all so very close. And so Dino
it's
and
funny
Nick,
because I've known you for like I've known you guys for like 5 years and I still haven't met you guys in person.
Exactly, dude. That's what's crazy, man. It's like half a decade and we've all been so close and haven't even met. And what's really cool too is that it's just such a good group. And you know, and even when Phil just joined the league randomly, he got brought in the middle of the season and he filled in real quick. So it's really cool. And then like
I
Dino
appreciate
was,
that guy.
oh yeah, dude, he's awesome, man. I like
there was my first year. There was a guy that was falling apart. He gave up his spot.
yeah.
And Phil came in and just like filled
Dude,
in
he
and
came in,
hot,
he was confident.
throwing out trades and like
yeah, dude, he was so confident. And I just remember like his name that first year was like Phildo or something, or that's what Plug like would mess around call him. And that's what he still saved in my phone. But like me and Josh send each other stuff all the time, like any Padre stuff I find or like Red stuff. So that's just cool. Like even though we've never met, I feel very close to him as well. So League of Legends has been a lot of fun. So first off, what made you a Raiders fan growing up in Hawaii? I know you were close, to the mainland there, but like,
sometimes actually, sometimes I wonder why I'm a Raiders fan. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? You feel me? No, funny story. Like my whole family, they were just like all like Raiders fans. You know what I mean? So I just grew up like, oh, that's what I knew. And that's like my family just knew that. Like my uncle has a Raiders tattoo on his arm.
Wow, really?
You know what I mean? So yeah, so there's dedication of these guys.
It's in your blood.
Yeah, it's in my literally on our skin. But yeah, so that's kind of like this. I think when it's funny because like when you're from Hawaii, you can like pick and choose whoever you want. So I always get teased like, you're from Hawaii, you could have picked and choose whoever you want. Why'd you pick the Raiders? Like so it's like everybody kind of gives me a good tease about that. But it's just more of like our family just always liked that. And then it was kind of funny because my parents moved to Vegas about 5 years ago, and then my dad was like working right next to the Raiders stadium, like when it was getting built. So he would send me pictures every day, like, oh, they're putting up this, they're putting up that, and then where they had their house, you would have to pass Raiders Way in order to get there. So I was a fan before, and then I just watched the whole like stadium get built, and like just I'd go visit them, and I'd like be just dying to go check them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you feel
now I'm like, so there's no turning back. Like Teo, like he signed up. He filled out his forms, his transcripts to like transfer over from Falcons into to the Rams. I don't do that. I just stay. I just ride it out.
He did do the transfer, and it's one of these things where, man, that's awesome that you get to like follow it. It's also too, you get to like bond with your dad on it. I've always been a diehard Bengals fan. Dino is the reason I pull for the Lions because I met a bunch of Lions fans when I would go up there and visit. And so
I thought you were gonna tell me because you felt bad, but
no, it was actually
I'm just kidding.
I love Stafford, Calvin Johnson, like those were my guys. And so they won me fantasy one year, and I just stayed invested, and like Dino would keep me interested. So they were like my NFC team, my backup. But Bengals all day for sure. And then just it is cool though seeing Stafford, doing what he did in LA. But yeah, man, the Raiders. That new stadium is that new stadium's incredible. So
it's beautiful. You know what's funny too is like my dad, he went to the church LV, and he was a part of church LV for a long time.
Yeah.
Derek Carr is a Christian, and he enjoys speaking and kind of sharing the word and stuff. My dad texted me one time. He's like, "Oh, you wouldn't believe like who was speaking at our church today," and I was like, "Who?" Like, "Oh, Derek Carr is like speaking at our church." And throughout this whole season, or preseason, Derek Carr every Sunday he would show up at I think 6 or 7 a.m. and he would lead in prayer for the church. So it was a men's prayer that he would lead, and every Sunday he would do it. And it was funny because one time
it's dedication.
He had a preseason game and they lost. And he came the next morning or something, and he showed up, and he didn't tell anybody that he was showing up. And he's like, "Wow, I can't believe, like, I'm happy to see all your faces here. I was tired and beat up, and but I really wanted to see who was gonna show up this morning after a long week." And I was like, "Wow, bro, Derek Carr is an amazing guy, man." So it's pretty cool. And like, my dad, he just kind of would be at the prayers every morning, and he's like, "Wow, Derek Carr is an amazing man. He's an amazing man." So for me, I kind of was like, "Oh wow, I'm a deeper fan of his now." You know what I mean? So
I respect the hell out of him. He's a great dude, and he's just incredible at not only football but just as a leader and as a person. And he's always just a good person. Like I just seen him play against the Bengals, like. At the end, he could have been pounding. He keeps it humble. He keeps his head up, and he's a warrior. And like, I think the Raiders should keep, staying invested in him. But I know some people want to move on, and it's up and down. It's definitely a complicated league. But yeah, Derek's definitely a good dude, especially after everything he went through this year with just all the messes with the Raiders. So he got through it all.
Especially, what I like too, like. It's a testament to like when people go through very like struggling seasons, and I think times where we get challenged and pushed to the edge of like, okay, like we're ready to give up, or like there's so many reasons why we should be giving up, or like we get all these signs and we're like, whoa, like why are we still standing? And it's like sometimes people like that are very great leaders in the fact of not only just for a football team or just but anything in life, you can stick to that and really stand up and push yourself and continue to strive and break boundaries in order to kind of show yourself like you're worthy and to prove to yourself that you belong, or because life is hard and life isn't easy for anybody. So like just to see that kind of personality, for me, I was like very inspired by people like that, and just like even the Bengals, it's like, dude, they 2 years ago they got the first pick for a reason.
Yeah.
And now they're getting the last pick. So
Yeah.
It's like it goes to show, like you can't give up, man. You keep striving, you keep pushing.
That's why that's why I stayed being a fan, and that's why I never gave up on them. And it's hard though. It's definitely hard, and it's but I'm the same way. Like I love someone that inspires me and motivates me, and they don't have to be doing the same thing as me. It's just seeing their story and seeing what they're doing. So when did you become professional surfing?
Professional, like, well, growing up, I started surfing when I was 4 years old. So I surfing was a part of my surfing was actually a part of my DNA. Coming from Hawaii, we're surrounded by the ocean. No matter which way we go, if we try to leave the island, we got to pass the ocean. So
yeah,
I think that's a part of our lifestyle. So I grew up surfing at a young age, and
did you pick it up quickly?
And like, it was something that you just you go to the beach and you grab a surfboard and you go paddle out. It's like jumping in the pool. You jump in the pool, you figure out how to swim, and it's just kind of our natural instinct.
Yeah.
So when I turned the age of like 10 or 11, I remember like putting on a jersey and surfing for fun. But I remember just losing or just kind of like getting that competitive spirit and kind of like, whoa, like there's people that do this for a living. And I was decent enough to be like, oh, I think I can be like a professional surfer. Like that's my dream, So that kind of grew into later on is like my dream is becoming closer and closer to me. About 15, 16 years old, I signed a contract with a sponsor, and like now I'm like kind of waist deep in it. Like, oh, okay, like it's on. Like I have to like, continue to work hard and keep striving to be better. So like around like 14, 15 was kind of like the ages where, being paid and doing it for a living was kind of like the reality of what I was doing. And
that's awesome.
I kept dedicating myself and pushing myself, working hard, and the dream became bigger and it became true. So I got to live my dream essentially, and growing that from a young age is, when you're young, you're like, oh, I want to be a fireman. I want to do this. Or I want to be a police officer, stuff like that. And I was able, I was fortunate enough and blessed enough to live my dream as an adult. And since I was a little kid. So I kind of all started like when I was like about 14 or 15 professionally.
How do sponsors find you? Just say contests or competitions?
Yeah, usually competitions or you do like these local events, and obviously your performance speaks for itself, but that's kind of like the introduction of in order to get sponsors or kind of like people to see you, and and then not necessarily only performance, because obviously it's not about what it's about who sometimes. So I was fortunate enough to make a lot of good friends, and the support kind of would come from kind of the local companies that would provide surfboards for myself and stuff like that. So in Hawaii too, it's very hard to find the kind of support like that. Not all families or kids are fortunate enough to get provided surfboards, So I was very fortunate at the age where this company called Locomotion Surfboards, they would provide for me, so I could go out and perform to my best abilities too. So
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a cool, it's real grassroots kind of like beginnings, and starts from very small, but when you have a support system that's just 100% dedicated to you, it makes it a lot more enjoyable when you get to work hard and see the fruits of your labor as well.
And you built this like great surfing network of friends and support groups. So that's incredible. And I gotta ask, so like you bring up like surfboards. So how much does an average surfboard cost?
Sheesh. Yeah, I mean, it's an expensive sport. Like you think about surfboards and the production of it being made, it's a process, and regular shortboard, performance board would cost between like $300 to $600.
Wow.
Per surfboard. So it's expensive, and you think about the materials that they have to use is foam blanks with wooden stringers on them, to fiberglass and resin and fins. So, each step of the process, like it costs a bit of money. And then you go ahead and you talk about like grip pads, which is the pad that we use in the back of our surfboard, so we can kind of track and do a lot of our maneuvers, and surf wax, and leashes and fins. Like fins, let alone, cost like $80, $85. So it's an expensive kind of sport to be entering.
Sure.
It's kind of like similar to golf. Like golf clubs cost a bit of money, then you have to buy golf balls and golf shoes. In order to perform at your best abilities, it takes a little bit of money.
Now, do you feel like with the sponsorships, what are some of the sponsorships that you felt like you have been with you since day one? Are you still with some of those people, or have you progress to other companies, or how's that kind of work?
Yeah, some of the companies that support me today are a little bit different from when I was younger, and there's one that has been that's stuck by my side since I was 9 years old. That one is Locomotion Surfers, and they continue to support me. So that's been my longest. I think it's like 20 years of sponsorship.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yeah, and it's cool to just to understand the loyalty and the kind of support that they've given me throughout my not just my career but my whole life. It started from day one. The guy who shapes my surfboards, his name is Wade Takoro, and he's been shaping my board since I was 9 years old, and he has done nothing but support me in every step of the way. I've had ups, I've had downs, and it's so cool to see that there's people that love you and support you no matter what your results are, especially if it's your highest of highs are with you and then the lowest of the lows, and they help you to pull you out of those holes. So, I've been fortunate enough to be a part of very loyalty companies and loyalty people around me.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. And it's like, do you feel like with that sponsorship, besides getting boards and like money and the sponsorships in that aspect, it's more important, like you said with Wade, like having that support system. That's what's really important with the sponsorship, what you would say, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because without that support system, it's kind of harder for you to kind of progress, or kind of harder for you to. It's more challenging, obviously. It's without that kind of confidence behind you. It's like you keep looking behind and looking over your shoulder, like, wait, am I doing the right thing, or am I? You start to second guess yourself, and I think in professional sports, like once you start second guessing yourself, it's kind of step in the wrong direction. It's kind of a little bit of a doubt that kind of creeps into your mind. So without that kind of support, it kind of plays a big effect as far as what your career goes and how you want to kind of navigate through your career. You're going to need a pretty good support system. And I think if you don't have that, it's a harder road for yourself. It's a lot more bumpy and it's a lot more turns that you have to take. But, I think the ones that are very successful, they've been very fortunate to have the kind of great support system.
So who are some of your other sponsors that you have right now?
Right now, I currently ride for Rockstar Energy Drink. There's another company that's newly been supportive is Rourke. There's this sunscreen brand that I actually been a part of since I was like 11 years old, and I've been with them since they started it. This company called Virtua, and they've been doing a lot of cool things. I have a cannabis sponsor, Leaf Organics.
That's dope.
I've been with them for a long time, yeah, and they do a lot of CBD products, and they've been very invested in the kind of quality that they have, but not necessarily just the CBD products, but they're very interested in all health and benefits of kind of helping the human body, and like what can the qualities of how to rest better or how to perform better. So being a part of Leaf Organics has been such a cool experience in the sense of outside of like my surfing career, like I can look at that and be more mindful and be open to like, wow, like this is like what makes your body better and what makes your brain better. And I've been learning a lot of cool things from them, just as far as rest or recovery, health benefits. It's been really cool because some of our investors are guys like Jimmy Butler and Rudy Gobert, some professional athletes that are in the NBA. Yeah, so it's been super cool just to see the progress and kind of the direction that Leaf is taking the turn to, and kind of understanding the fact that it's not just CBD, and there's a lot more studies that have been put into what we're actually providing and kind of giving out, as far as not just cannabis, not just marijuana, but the CBD, the CBNs, like all that kind of stuff. So it's been a lot of learning, and it's for me, I'm very interested in that kind of stuff, and I think the people that support me, I think that's more important, is being invested into these other brands that give me, not only that they give me, but like how can I be a product or a supporter of them as well, because I believe if you don't support the brand, it's never gonna work. It's like a marriage, right? Like you give me money, but if you don't like what they make, there's no marriage there.
And there's not a successful real end game there, because it's like it's awesome that you enjoy the sponsors that you have, and that's great that what you're doing there, because I'm big cannabis supporter, big marijuana supporter, so I think that's awesome, and I think it's cool that you have different sponsors at these different levels and affiliations. So that's sick. And the thing I really a few things because I'm very, I guess you'd say, green when it comes to the surfing thing. Like, I respect it. I've seen it. It's awesome. But so, like, some of the basic questions I could say is, like, how is surfing scored? Like, how that's something I just never had understood.
Yeah, and I appreciate you just like being completely honest about being green about the surfing, And for me, that is my biggest kind of appreciation, because surfing is a growing sport, and if you look at surfing, it's only on the outskirts or the kind of coastlines of countries and nations. It's by the ocean. But lately, we've been growing. The sport has been growing, and we've been creating wave pools in order to progress the kind of spectatorship that we can bring to the world. And just for you to like kind of recognize that you're green to it kind of makes me happy, because not a lot of times I get to talk to people that know less about surfing. I'm usually talking to people that know a lot. So for me to kind of like speak to you about it is pretty cool. But scoring is very, very subjective. So in the sport of surfing, we get scored based on 5 judges. There's 5 different judges that come from, 1 from Hawaii, 2 from Brazil, and 2 from Australia. Or like sometimes it'll vary. Sometimes there's some from Europe or some from across the world. You have to be kind of a qualified judge in order to be judging professional events.
That's really cool.
And you get scored from a 1 to 10, 10 being excellent, 1 being very poor. You count your 2 waves in a heat, and that heat is 30 minutes. So within the 30 minutes, you can catch as many waves as you want, but your top 2 scores, your 2 highest scores will be counted for yourself. And, you can get from 1 to 10, obviously, and the 2 highest surfers will qualify through that heat. So, the judging criteria is based off of speed, power, flow, degree of difficulty, sometimes risk. So the different locations that we go to, it all kind of depends on like the conditions. So the one that we just finished yesterday and today is this wave in Hawaii called Pipeline. And the kind of wave that you want is a big barreling, like kind of scary, treacherous wave that you're kind of trying to get behind the wave. There's a thing called the barrel. You're trying to get as deep as you can in the barrel and complete it, come out. So that's kind of like the scoring potential, or like kind of like the way you want to be scored. So, it all depends. And sometimes we surf some small waves that are in beach breaks that, airs and turns and speed, stuff like that gets scored above all else. But yeah, essentially it's based off of a 1 through 10, and 10 being excellent.
And now, did you, how long did it take you? Because, it sounds like you became very natural to the sport, especially growing up in Hawaii. But, how comfortable did it get, were you to the ocean? Not just swimming, but to kind of like reading the waves, timing stuff. How long did that take to really grasp that?
That's a great question, because like, still to this day, I feel like I'm learning. The ocean is constantly moving, and we're learning, every day. But doing something from such a young age, it becomes so natural. And not till the ages of like 14 or 15, you're very comfortable and not fearless, but less fearful of like what would be going on if you're stuck in a current, or because being a surfer, you tend to kind of figure things out very quickly when you're in the ocean, and you tend to be essentially like a waterman and figuring out like how to be comfortable in these uncomfortable situations, especially when the waves are big or the current's really strong. And when your life gets put on the line, you kind of tend to figure out what to do. And um, it kind of happens at the ages of like the early teenage years where you feel really comfortable and you start to push yourself and get into larger waves or bigger waves or scarier waves. And but yeah, like usually the ages at like 12 to 14, you kind of get more progress with like kind of being comfortable in the ocean. But the timing and the kind of like perception of how far you need to be, and the kind of all that kind of stuff is fairly like, it's fairly like a golfer. A golfer like can hit 1,000 balls every day and they can still miss hit a ball here and there, but every day you kind of have to work on that. And every day if you surf and you correct your timing on certain turns or when you catch waves and stuff like that, the more comfortable you're going to get and you're almost like in a rhythm. So that's kind of like, if a basketball player was to, be an incredible shooter, but they stop for like a month, the first section of them shooting is kind of be fairly rusty, so I like to look at it like that. And, we're dealing with the ocean, which is constantly moving and changing and tides and weather. So still to this day, I'm learning. That's for sure.
Now, how many times do you practice a week?
For me, like practicing every week, the goal is to surf every day. But not necessarily every day I have a chance to go surf. Sometimes the waves are too small but I try my best to surf every day. The weekends I usually don't get to surf just because for me, the weekends are for the guys that have been working all week and they're just dying to go surf. So, it tends to get pretty crowded on the weekends. So I just usually shy away from the weekends unless it's like the waves are really, really good. But I try to surf every day.
Okay, that's awesome, man. Because I was always wondering, how you, stay in rhythm. Definitely like you bring up the basketball. So I just curious of how much practice really took. What is probably your well, I guess before I ask this question, you brought up kind of like the fear and stuff like that, and like the age. Like, has there ever been a wave that just scared the shit out of you while you were out there?
Yeah, dude. There's this wave. There's a lot of waves that scare me. There's this one wave in Hawaii that they just had the event at Pipeline. It's a scary wave. Like, it breaks over a shallow reef, and it's very similar to this other wave that freaks me out in Tahiti. It's called Chopo. This wave in Chopo, it like the waves, like when you see it, it sucks off the reef and it goes down like that, and it comes back up. So it's drawing off this reef. So when it breaks, it's over a super shallow reef that's super sharp and alive. And when it's big, it is so scary. And you don't know whether it's like how much water, if you're going to drown or if you're going to hit the reef in a bad angle or what. But, when you're dealing with a lot of heavy water and a lot of, essentially like life-changing kind of waves, you could either get the best wave of your life or you could get the worst beatings of your life, so waves like that, there's waves like this wave in Maui is called Peahi, also known as Jaws. It's probably where some of the biggest waves are ridden. Like for me, like waves like that is just like life or death, and they have life vests now that, kind of protects them, but those waves are just pretty scary. And people who say like they're not afraid of any waves, you can easily be like, yeah, I think you're lying, because some of these waves are just like ridiculous, like how big they are and like what the ocean can do to you too. You kind of think about that, and it's different.
Yeah, the ocean can it can mess you up for sure. And do you feel like do you have a favorite surf spot? Do you have a least favorite surf spot? Could you say that in being a surfer?
Yeah, like every wave is different, obviously. And, when we travel to different areas in the world, it's, some places are freezing cold and some places are warm. Like for me, my comfort zone and my happy place of when I'm surfing is gotta be in Hawaii, like that's where I was born and raised. That's where my comfort level is at its highest. And where I'm enjoying my surfing the most is at home. I used to go to places that I used to be like, geez, like I hate this place. And for the longest time, I was like, oh, I hate coming here. I hate doing this. The waves are cold. The waves are small. It sucks. But it's kind of funny because over the years I got older and I kind of realized, like, you know what? Like this is what the waves provide for me, and
yeah,
I learned to embrace it and kind of just enjoy it and love it. So, I used to like hate going to Brazil or like these certain places, but getting older, I actually love it. And I appreciate all these different ways. And there's nowhere I least like. So it's funny, like my perspective has changed over the years. And I think the maturity has grown on me to the point where I've been kind of embracing all the places that I go to.
That's dope, man. Because that's part of life, and it's cool that you have this journey, dude. Because you also got to think about it. You're doing things that some people, dream about, and like, would love to have the opportunity. So that's really sick. You're getting to do that, and you bring up a good point too of like cold water, warm water. So you of course see these suits that the surfers wear sometimes. So I mean, how warm does that keep you?
It keeps you pretty warm. Like the kind of technology that some of the wetsuits that they have these days is they progress so much that I actually get these wetsuits from Japan. The neoprene rubber that they have from over there, it feels like thermals. When I put it on, it just slides on and it keeps me really warm and sometimes even super hot because it kind of insulates the heat and stuff. So, with good product, you get to stay warm, and some of the football players have been using them. Like Tom Brady would always put on like a wetsuit when he'd go play in the snow. And I know Mac Jones was playing with a wetsuit this past season.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's
yeah. So they were actually wearing some surfing material under their pads and everything to kind of keep them warm. So it's pretty cool to see like some of the surfing kind of products or materials and to translate over to some of the guys in the NFL to keep them warm.
Dude, that's genius, because I actually just Googled this past football season, how do these players stay warm? Because I was going to that Bengals 49ers game, it was freezing, and seeing these guys like diving and not wearing sleeves, and you learn, you hear these crazy stories about them rubbing, Vaseline or, the Under Armour technology, but the whole thing about a surf suit or like a swimsuit like that, like that's incredible. And I didn't even know Brady and then Mac Jones did that, but that's a genius way to do it. Cause I always like wanted a quarterback jacket just for shits and giggles. Like not saying I just thought it'd be cool to have. And I always was like, man, they throw that on, that look warm, but it's like once they take that off, it's like, how are they staying warm? So that's pretty cool technology. And no, you're right. I mean, the way technology has evolved over the years, I mean, especially like even with a brand like Under Armour, I remember playing baseball, they have these sleeves and it's like, it was real thick and it keep us warm. And it's crazy. It's cool material.
Yeah. And it's so cool just to see like the kind of things that they come out with. It's just like interesting to me. Just like, wow, okay, like I see these guys doing certain things. It's just like I never thought would work, and like we don't surf in the snow necessarily. I mean, some people do, places like New York or Japan, like they end up surfing in the snow, but for us, we're just like we're jumping in the water, so we have to be as warm as possible. But playing in the snow is just next level.
Oh yeah,
and you just to see these guys like kind of take the surfing products and use them on a different professional sport kind of scale is like it's pretty cool. So when I found out Brady and Mac Jones was following and kind of doing the same thing, I thought it was very, very cool and interesting and also smart because it's that's them doing their homework, as far as like, okay, like it's gonna be cold, I'm prepared, so I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I do too. And it's trying something different. And, that's definitely what Brady's like. He likes to he likes to try different things, and he usually is the first person to do something and people follow.
Yeah.
What is some of your favorite surfers? I mean, from when you were, I guess first go with some of the ones you grew up on as a kid and like kind of motivated you, inspired you, and then who, just currently you like to watch or just kind of look up to, or
Yeah,
even,
like
or even just relate to.
there's a lot of influential people that I've looked up to over the years as far as, my surfing career. This one guy, Sonny Garcia, he's probably one of the, main guys that kind of paved the way for young Hawaiian surfers, him and this other guy named Andy Irons. So those two guys were two Hawaiian world champions that kind of paved the way and almost kind of gave us a dream to kind of follow, like, oh, wow, this is capable or this is possible, coming from this small island of Hawaii and actually like winning the titles and winning, world titles. It's capable and the dream can come true. So for guys like that, I looked up to, and there's obviously somebody like Kelly Slater is somebody that you can never overlook. He's the greatest of all time. So, looking up to guys like that, and just even seeing Kelly win yesterday, he won his 56th main event, and he's gonna be 50 years old in 5 days. It's like insanity, and he's surfing the most scariest waves, and he's still showing that he can reinvent himself every year, and no matter how old you are, and how much you take care of your body and take care of your mental.
That has to inspire you.
So, yeah, and it's it just to see that, it gives you hope and it gives you inspiration of how you can be better and how to take care of yourself. Just as far as longevity goes, and for me, just there's a lot of pioneers of the sport, and that's just a couple of highlights of them. And I look up to a lot of people, and even still to this day, some of my best friends are some of the people that I look up to as far as their surfing and how they carry themselves, or just how they intake some of the wins or some of the losses. I feel like I've learned so much from the closest people to me that how they deal with the wins and the losses, just their maturity level. So it's cool, like I feel like I've went from being such a young boy to kind of being at the same level, and then just kind of just living it is pretty cool.
Now, was there and that is your whole story is awesome. And was there publications growing up that for surfing that you would check out, or were there like tapes or like videos? Like I just didn't know, because like skateboarding, I had a skateboarder on actually today, did an episode that came out here in Vincent. He's a local skateboarder, and he was pro for a while, and he was sharing stories about just kind of like the different videos he grew up on and some of the things he did. So I just didn't know like when I was younger, like my dad would get me these VHS tapes, and like I would be able to like watch them and then press rewind right away and watch it all over again, press rewind, watch it all over again. That was kind of like almost like my news channel at night. My dad would be watching the news, I'll be watching surfing, and I would have like maybe 3 or 4 DVD or VHSs, and I'd rewind them and play them. And then like the DVDs came out, and then you could have like a bunch of CDs and like play them. So we got to watch a lot of surf movies and kind of get inspiration from that, and that kind of like grew my kind of interest into what it is today. I want to be like that. I see that and I want to be like that. And then when I was younger, they used to have November, December, we would have these 3 events called the Triple Crown. One would be Aliva, Sunset, and Pipe. And they would be like live, and my dad would pull me out of school and he's like, hey, don't tell your mom, but we're going to go watch live. The contest is on today and we're going. He would pass up his work day and go take me to go and like watch the best in the world. That's huge. It'd be like as if like there was like 3 Super Bowls like in your hometown, so like my dad would yank me from school and be like, hey, we're going to go watch the best of the best, the Kelly Slater, the Andy Irons, and like
all the best guys. So for me, it was like I would see that and be like, wow, like these are like actual superheroes right now that I'm about to go watch surf. So that was my mindset, and like that's my dream right there. Is like I want to be like that. I want to compete like that. And for the past 10 years, I've been able to do the same events as those guys. And growing up and seeing that, and then just being like, wow, now I'm that guy putting on the jerseys, and kids are skipping school to come watch us surf. Is like just the reality of that. Just I can't even wrap my mind around.
Dude,
I pinch myself every day.
Dude, you're an inspiration, man, and you're living the dream, and that's what's incredible. And I think it's awesome that you feel that passion from your childhood, because I remember, all the things as a kid, like going to see different players play, and like I was into hockey, like seeing Gretzky and seeing baseball, like see Cal Ripken and Jeter, and then basketball, like seeing Reggie Miller because he was real close to Louisville. So like all these players like were a big inspiration to me. So I remember because I played high school sports and tried to pursue it in college, and it's like I never made to the level of like where you're surfing and stuff, but it's like I know that feeling of like going to see that as a kid and like wanting to get that dream. And even if you don't make it, like even for people listening, it's like it's still such a good memory and good feeling to see that. And then it also just, it's something that stays with you forever, seeing your favorite idols and compete. So I think that's really cool. And like, I can definitely relate to, having those moments as a kid, like seeing your favorite people and just inspiring you, just want to do stuff in your life in general. So it was really dope. And do you feel like, besides like I guess in America, of course, in California, Hawaii, what are some countries that surfing is very popular in? Besides like I know Brazil, Japan, Australia you mentioned, but
like Brazil actually is like the fastest growing, like surfing is the fastest growing sport in that country, and Australia they get a lot of support through their government. So Australia is a really popular country for surfing. Unfortunately, like America has been probably some of like the less popular countries, but I think over the next like 5 to 10 years, I think they're going to see a lot of growth as far as these wave pools and stuff like that. Like a lot of technology coming into the country, I feel it's going to change a lot of people's perspective on the sport. And for me, like Japan, like there's a lot of fans in Japan. Like when we go there, it's like they look at a lot of the surfers as like rock stars because they really like are passionate about surfing over there. So that's like one place that I really enjoy traveling to, just as far as the kind of enjoyment and the engagement with the fan base is pretty amazing. So but mainly Brazil and Europe and Australia are probably like some of the biggest fan bases in countries where surfing is the most popular.
Now, have you seen any wildlife or anything while you've been out surfing? Anything that's like been kind of like crazy to see?
Yeah, I mean, everybody always asks the questions, right? Like, oh, you see sharks? And yeah, we see sharks like pretty often. They're out there.
Yeah.
But they, like they're not out there to attack us, like fortunately. So, I didn't have any encounters yet as far as like being attacked or anything. But this one guy, I actually competed against the year he got attacked. We were surfing in this wave in Jeffreys Bay, this guy named Mick Fanning. And early in the morning, we have the man-on-man heat, and I ended up surfing against him in the morning, and we had a pretty good battle in the heat in the morning. And then I ended up losing to him. He ended up like surfing, continued on the rest of the day, and he made the finals. In the finals, he was sitting there on his board, and this huge fish just comes up and he just starts getting attacked, and it was a shark. And it was kind of pretty popular, or not popular, but it was pretty like broadcasted all over the world. It was on like Sports Center, ESPN. It was all over those sports channels. But I surfed against him that morning, and it was like probably the most insane like kind of tragedy that hit like surfing in our sport. Like just seeing somebody get attacked by a shark like in the middle of the heat was like, dang, like that's like not only we're like fighting like heavy waves sometimes, but we're like fighting, wildlife, like other guys are dodging linebackers, and some of the surfers like on that day were dodging some sharks. So
now, what was his name?
His name is Mick Fanning. So
wow.
if you go on YouTube and you look up Mick Fanning shark attack, you'll see him. He's in a blue jersey in the surfing contest, and it's like you'll see the shark like just come in and just like attack him. And luckily, like at these events, we have a lot of water safety that will come in right away and kind of save us and kind of look after us as best as possible.
Yeah.
But not always is the case, right? We kind of face some situations where sharks can get us or stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I had to ask. It was something I was curious about, and I love sea life and just sea animals in general and stuff like that. So I always thought it was just, I definitely knew that's probably something you had to face and elements thrown at you when you're surfing, for sure.
Yeah, it happens pretty often too. So it's kind of funny. That's a lot of people give me that question, and yeah, like you see it pretty often.
What do you have a favorite sea animal? Like just being a person that loves water and stuff, do you have an animal that just
like the turtle, like in Hawaii, like growing up, it was kind of funny because like the sea turtle is just like, I feel like that was like I don't know, not like I can like talk to any animals or anything, but like that was like one I was like always like just attracted to. It was just like, dang, like a sea turtle. And like it was kind of funny because like every time I would go surf, and still to this day, like every time I'm at home, I would go surf, like I will see a sea turtle like every single time I surf. Like it'll always pop up next to me, and like I always see it. So to me, I was very attracted to that. I mean, I'm not like a ain't no Dr. Doolittle or speak to them or anything, but no, that was like one that I was attracted to, like the sea turtle. Was like kind of like.
Dude, I'm looking right now on my wall. I have a huge sea turtle painting. So like I'm a big sea turtle guy myself.
There we
I
go.
went out to Pensacola, Florida, Gulf Breeze a lot. Back like a few years back, and the sea turtles, they'd have like protective areas. They have a sea turtle center there in the bar. So it's a really
and cool. It's cool because like even in Hawaii, like people are super protective of like the sea turtles. Like they wash up on shore, and like the Hawaiians, they're like, you don't touch the sea turtles. Like it's like very like known,
Yeah.
So they're very, very, very protected, and like nobody messes with the turtles. Like if you mess with the turtles, everybody gets upset. So.
Yeah,
for me, I just think that is like, I was like, that's pretty sick, like,
Yeah, and I'm very observant. Like when I'm down, like in the Florida where they have the protective areas, like driving slow, being observant. So it's just cool and just and it's a good feeling knowing that animal's protected and like it's going to be able to make it to the ocean and make that process.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, it's cool. So that's really cool. You said sea turtle because I can definitely connect with that of like sea turtle's the way to go, and that's why I felt like there's definitely. You think about it, like talking about the NFL and teams like that, like there needs to be more sea animal type names, like I feel
like we only got a dolphin, like come on, man.
Yeah.
We got enough birds and we got enough cats. Like, come on, like give us some other animals, you know what I mean?
Dude, I want I forget the name of it, but I always it'd be crazy if they were alive now, but like that Loch Ness monster style, that just float around the bigger body with the long neck, like those were crazy, and it's crazy to think that those were on this planet, like those existed, like it's wild to think about, just seeing them like pictures surfing and then seeing one of those things just like a big ass wave, you'd be like, what the heck, like what Dude, that is crazy to think about. Like you never know. Like surfing with dinosaurs, like that's just a crazy thought.
I'd be so scared. That trips me out.
Yeah,
that's something, right? Like that happened.
Dude, that'd be a crazy movie, man. Like that would even be a crazy like science fiction movie. It's like surfing with dinos, and like, dude, it's like like you have to like get this like wild potion to some island, and you're like surf around dinosaurs, and like Yeah, I'd watch it, dude. I'd watch that for sure. That's
I like that, actually. I like that.
yeah, it'd be a good idea. So
we need to start, but we do need to think about a different kind of NFL team that doesn't have a cat and it doesn't have a bird, because we have enough of those. I mean, we can get rid of the lamb. We have a lamb, but we're gonna get rid of him next weekend, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's right.
Yeah, we got, dude. I'm so ready, dude. I'm just ready for the Bengals just to have that pride for a whole year. Like, dude, I'm just ready for that Super Bowl victory, and I just can't wait. No, dude, you know who Hawaii needs an NFL team. That'd be sick. So I gotta ask you before we wrap up. So were you a big Hawaii Rainbow Warriors fan growing up? Like, was that
absolutely. Like, you know, that's our. When I was younger, I actually thought that was like a professional team. So like when I started watching the NFL, people were like, I was like, wait, where's the Rainbow Warriors? They're like, what? I was like, yeah, where's the Rainbow Warriors? Like, where are they ranked right now? Or like, what is they're like, that's a college team. That's not no professional team. I was like, oh shoot, I thought that was. So, you know, growing up, like our neighbors, we would always have these potlucks on the weekends and stuff like that. And like everybody in Hawaii is a Rainbow Warriors fan, you know.
Yeah.
The good and the bad, like everybody's, you know, a fan. So it's pretty cool because, you know, in Hawaii, like everybody really loves the sport of football, you know, and there's a lot of Hawaiian football players, but, you know, that's kind of like everybody's a really, really big football fan over there. So, you know, the Rainbow Warriors is very, very much so like has a big fan base in Hawaii. And, you know, you see everybody with their hats, their shirts, the chairs and the coolers and everything, you know, the hydro flasks, the things engraved on them these days. It's like everybody has them and everybody's a super fan. So yeah, growing up, the UH Warriors are kind of like, that was like my I thought professional team.
And they had such dope attire, and they still do. Like that's what I loved. And like I remember playing Sega Genesis, the college football games, and like I was a Kentucky fan, and Kentucky always wasn't on those games like back in the Sega Genesis days. So Hawaii was on there of all teams, which was cool. And I always thought their logo was so sick. And then I watched Coach Brenneman, and then I had like a friend in high school who would watch the games late. So like I kind of got into Hawaii that year when they went to the Sugar Bowl. So I just always thought it was cool. And I'm always the type of person, I like a unique team or like a unique squad.
Yeah. Rest in peace to Coach Brennan, man. Cool. He was like a superstar in Hawaii. Dude, you know, he was a superstar. Everybody loved him and enjoyed watching him.
Awesome. Legend. And you know, in Hawaii's got a new coach. They hired I think Chung or whatever.
Yeah, Timmy Chung. And he was a former quarterback over there. I remember
Chang or watching Chang.
Chang, yeah, Timmy Chang, yeah. He was when I first started watching him play, he was the quarterback over there. So,
yeah.
And one of my friends, actually, Zeke Lau, he just got married a couple weeks ago, but his dad was a wide receiver for the UH Warriors. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty insane. So.
And it's always cool seeing them on TV when you get a chance. Like if you're at a bar at home or a friend's house, like catching a Hawaii game is rare. So it's cool to always see or like see them a bowl game because like over this way, it's kind of harder like in Kentucky to always get those games. So I would sometimes stay up late just to catch them if I would see them on TV or like
It's funny. It's funny because it's pretty rare for the Hawaiians to even watch them too, because it's pay-per-view in Hawaii. So everybody's like, oh, who's watching? Who got the game? Who bought it? Like everybody had to go like throw a party at people's houses.
How much would a game cost?
I want to say it was like $50 or something to watch the game or something like that. I forget how much exactly it is, but yeah, it's like you got to pay to watch the game.
The loyalty's
exactly,
dude.
Yeah, exactly the loyalty.
Awesome. So, dude, I definitely want to thank you for being on my show, man. And I appreciate it. This is a big honor. And, you know, to have a professional server, dude, you're one of the biggest guests ever. And I'm really proud and inspired by your story and proud and honored to know you. Like, you're a good friend, and it's been fun playing fantasy football with you. I'm looking forward to the future. But, again, I just want to say thank you for being on the show. It's fun getting to know you, kind of getting to know your story. I'm happy for you and your family and everything. So, man, it's definitely
Thank you, Sleezy. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It was such an honor being on your podcast and just rapping out with you. You know, I'm gonna have to go back and tell you that I'm not the biggest guy on your podcast. If I met you in person, you'd realize I'm not the biggest one.
Oh, but hey, dude,
I'm actually like really, really small. Like I'm tiny, but.
Well, dude, even being a smaller guy,
I'm
dude,
just
you're the
kidding. I'm
man,
just
dude.
messing.
You got the big name. So, dude, definitely let everybody know where they can find you or reach out.
Oh, absolutely. My Instagram is at Keanu Asing. That's KeanuAsing. Mostly active on that, and yeah, I'd give out my phone number too if you want to hit me up. But I'm just kidding.
Yeah, dude, it's definitely cool. Also, because I feel like I'll have friends in Kentucky that'll get to hear your story, and then out west you'll have people that'll tune in. So it's always cool to kind of have that networking connection. But again, man, I can't thank you enough. And everybody, thank you for listening to this show. Everybody that's been listening, downloading, it's been incredible. Hit every continent except South America, still trying to get there. But I want to thank everybody that's been listening worldwide. Definitely reach out, vibingwithsleazy@gmail.com, Vibing with Sleazy, the podcast on Instagram or Facebook. Definitely any fan mail, love, any questions, comments, reactions, want to contact another guest or get in touch with the guests I've had on, just reach out. I definitely appreciate all the love and support. So thank you all for listening. This episode will be on all platforms, so you can download, stream it, share with friends. So again, thank you to everybody. But we are out. Peace.